What if I just told you that forgiveness has nothing to do about just letting go of the past? It actually has a lot to do about letting go of the old version of ourselves. The part of you, whether it was the hurt self, the betrayed self, the abandoned self, that part of you that is holding on to a story that could have or should have been. Forgiveness and grief are actually two sides of the exact same coin, and you cannot truly have forgiveness without first grieving. And because with one of the things that we struggle with, forgiveness isn't just about what someone did to us, it's about who we lost in the process. Today, we are going to explore what the forgiveness phoenix is. It's really the process of confronting grief, allowing the old way to burn away so that we can rise from the ashes, so that we can find a new level of self love. It is the pathway through forgiveness. You gotta tackle grief. So maybe if you haven't allowed yourself to truly grieve, could be the reason why you can't seem to forgive a certain person or a situation you are holding on to. We are going to explore this a little bit deeper today, and hopefully, you'll have some tools or at the very least, some seeds planted so you can start working on forgiveness and setting yourself free, allowing yourself to love deeper and have a stronger connection. Hey there, beautiful souls, and welcome back to another Mindful Monday. That's right, it's Monday again, but I'm here to grace you with my presence. That's right, your host, Erica Trimnell, the Mindful Mistress. I am here to offer you unique insights that really help grow us spiritually, which allow us to embrace every single aspect of the journey of life that we are on so we can break our own prisms of limitations and experience a life of fuller, deeper meaning and connection. So, today, what we are talking about is forgiveness. And I want to start by saying that, in my opinion, forgiveness is so misunderstood. We think of forgiveness typically as a single act, something we decide to do and then whoo, we feel lighter and we feel better. But forgiveness is really it's a process. It's a process that requires us to sit in our grief, especially. That's something that I feel we do not talk about enough when we talk about forgiveness. We talk about how it will help us, how it's really for us and not about the other person. But that grief aspect that gets tied to forgiveness that is in that process, we typically skip over and we do not acknowledge. So I like to call this the phoenix of forgiveness. And why I say that, because it really can be the rebirth of yourself in this process. And phoenix is it doesn't rise without without first burning. Now I'm an Aries, and so fire is my thing, but we won't get into that. But like I said, a phoenix does not rise without first burning. And so in the same way with forgiveness, we cannot step fully into forgiveness without severing the ties, without burning the past, without going through the depths of the grief process as well. So, when we think about this from a science or psychological standpoint, grief is really our mind's natural response. I really want to highlight that. It is our body's natural response to loss, any type of loss. And this is based on our lived experience and our perspective. So, what is lost to you may not be lost to somebody else. So, having that in mind when we are talking with, coaching, connecting, sharing with other people's experiences, that loss can be a wide range of things. So, just something to keep in mind. So, this isn't something that it's just about losing someone, something external. It's also about losing the parts of ourselves, our dreams, our identities, our hopes, our wishes. Now, we are we're still close to the beginning of the year. So, a lot of us did resolutions, we did affirmations, we did vision boards. And one of the things that I did differently in my vision board party this year round is I set the stage by opening up a container for release. Because we all know when we want to call something in, we have to make space for that. And to make space, you have to create room. You have to release something that is no longer serving you to make room for what it is that you are calling in. So it's that same aspect when we talk about forgiveness. So when someone betrays us, we don't just grieve their actions. We are grieving the version of ourselves that allowed, let's say, that situation to happen, that maybe believed in them, that maybe believed in a different version of ourselves. So I want you to sit and think about that. Maybe in this moment you pause and you reflect, and this is enough for you to chew on and to journal throughout this week, and you can come back and listen to the rest of the video. But if we don't acknowledge this and we really just skip the grieving process in the process to heal, we actually remain attached to the pain of whatever that hurt was, because it has now become tied to our identity, how we show up in the world, not just because when we haven't forgive, but we haven't done the grieving process in the forgiveness to let go of that version of ourselves, that story that we told ourselves. Coming from the neuroscience perspective, the neuroscience really tells us that when we avoid grief, we are avoiding the reality of the loss. Our brain actually holds on to the past as a survival mechanism, believing that if we stay with this pain, we actually are protecting ourselves from it happening again. Again, think about this. Some of us rationalize that thought too. I'm not going to do this again because when I did this last time, this pain happened, or this person broke my heart, or this situation occurred. So I'm not going to do it again. That's a natural response of our brains and our body's way of protecting ourselves. But in actuality, it is this avoidance that really keeps us trapped in the cycle of our past, and which leads to not only anxiety and depression and physical ailments, but really kind of keeps you in this loop, in this cycle. You think that you are learning from your past and you're doing better, but what you're actually doing is just projecting your past into your future and recreating that over and over again. So, on the other hand, when we dig just a little bit deeper, research also shows that we consciously process grief when we are actually activating our brain's responsibility for self awareness and emotional regulation. So, by avoiding it, again, we are still, that grief is like on our backs, that grief is following us wherever we go, that pain, that betrayal is following us. It's not till you go through it. Remember, the phoenix has to burn. So it's not till you go through that fire and activate those areas where you truly can process that grief. This allows us to also help just make sense of the experience as a whole, whether it is to integrate those lessons going forward or to truly get to the step of forgiveness of ourselves, of who we were, of what we thought, and of the other person if there was somebody else involved in those actions. So, this is why people often say they have maybe tried to forgive someone, but they still feel that resentment. The real issue isn't that they're unwilling to forgive, it's that they're unwilling to actually grieve the situation, grieve the person they were, grieve the person they thought somebody else was. And that's a huge part. The grief is actually the fire that's going to forge us, the fire that's going to burn. Uh, I'm an I'm an Aries, and I'm also April baby, so diamonds are my birthstone. So being forged by that pressure, by that fire, and forgiveness is the flight, it's the rise, the beautiful rebirth that comes after it. But first, we have to be willing to sit in our sorrow. We have to be willing to allow that to burn away and recognize who we are today in this moment. It brings me back to when I did my vision board party. I did a short sound bowl meditation where I ask people to really sit with themselves. You don't have to tell me what it is you're letting go of or what it is that you're struggling with, but be honest with yourself. Know what are those things that are holding you back from the next step and be willing to confront that so you can let that go and start calling in the things that you actually want to realize in this version of our time here on earth. And so that forgiveness is really it's an entire cycle. We can't just think about the yin part. We've gotta merge the yin and the yang together. We've gotta have that burning that then leads to the rise. So that release that then leads to forgiveness and wholeness and self-love and compassion and all the other beautiful things that are waiting on the other side of this burning process. To that point, forgiveness is not about just the releasing of maybe that anger towards somebody. It is that release of that version of yourself that was hurt, the version of yourself that had an expectation that did not get met, the version of yourself who did not know any better. You only had the tools and the knowledge at that time that you had. Hindsight is 2020. I can tell you for myself, like we have all experienced it. We have all been there. We are all going through our own levels or our own cycles of grief and pain to get to that forgiveness. Again, not about the other person, but forgiving ourselves for the part that we played in that situation. And this requires a deep, 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 deep level, often sometimes very painful acknowledgement of that loss. It requires that self-awareness piece, which is the whole part of Mindful Mondays, right? It's me offering a different perspective to things that we commonly face every single day, but maybe hadn't thought about it in this way. Maybe you didn't know that the reason why you can't forgive your aunt because of a situation that happened 10 years ago is because you haven't grieved the younger version of yourself that was vulnerable or that expected her to do XYZ, right? So again, just something for you to think about, something for you to chew on, for you to meditate, for you to journal, whatever it is that you do. So one of the ways you can do that is just kind of reframing, just do a cognitive reframe. And so instead of asking, why did this happen to me? Maybe in asking yourself, what part of me am I still holding on to? What part of me in that situation am I still holding on to today? Sometimes we struggle to forgive because we are still so attached to that version of ourselves that was wronged. We didn't know who we would be without that pain, without holding on to that pain, without holding on to that fear. And that unknown is what is keeping us stuck into the cycle that we are in today. Now, something that I would like to bring as a tool to help us move through this burning process of grief to forgiveness is something that I actually learned way back when in my time in Hawaii, Ho'oponopono. And this is a beautiful act, a beautiful ritual, if you will, of forgiveness. And I find it to be super effective and just overall empowering in the way that it loves and supports you and the other person. Now, this is something you can totally do by yourself. This is something that I often do when I have 3D conflicts and I want to resolve them in the 5D. Now, I won't talk about that, but sit and I'm sure it'll probably come to you. But one of the most effective practices is this Hawaiian tradition of ho'oponopono. And it's this mantra about forgiving others, but also about releasing our own attachment to the suffering, which is what we've been talking about. So the practice is super simple because it really just it consists of some just profound statements. And it starts with, I am sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And I love you. Those four profound statements can radically change how you move through that burning process of grief to forgiveness. And this works because it really helps us to acknowledge the grief in this. It allows us to apologize to ourselves, to the other person for holding on to this pain that has caused us to maybe relive the past, then not let go. And it also asks our inner selves for forgiveness, the ability to be able to express that gratitude for this particular situation and what it has taught us, right? Thinking about the silver lining of it. And then at the end, just reaffirming our love, not only to the other person, but to the person we are becoming and to ourselves for this beautiful, empowering practice. Studies have shown that repeating these words, that saying these mantras really activates regions of the brain that are associated to emotional regulation and empathy. So, this helps us really dissolve that resentment that we might have at a neurological level. So, those four things can be traumatic and, dramatic can have a profound it could be. It could help you, relieve trauma, I could say that, but have a very dramatic and profound impact. Again, it is, "I am sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And last but not least, I love you. I love you." So think about that, write it down. Maybe you stop the video again, you do a Ho'oponopono practice and see how you feel. Maybe this is something that you work on. Again, if you're not used to this, if it's something that has been plaguing you for a while, it takes time to slowly start to burn each of those areas so that you move through the grieving process to be able to release and then start rising. Now, some other things that you can do, some rituals for release and forgiveness are beautiful ways to process this as well. And one of the most powerful ways that I have found at least is through writing. Writing is very beneficial to me, although I cannot spell. I'm the first to tell you, writing it down. So writing a letter to yourself, which really helps, it helps you it helps you get your emotions out. It helps you externalize your emotions, and it allows the brain to start making sense of all of these things, who we are, who we thought we were. So, writing a letter, whether it's to the person who hurt you, to the person you were when you were hurt, expresses all of these raw emotions in a safe place. Then you can take that a little bit further if you feel called to and read it out loud to yourself. See where that feels in your body. So maybe you work on some somatic practices to release those areas of tension where you feel it in your heart. Maybe it's in your solar plex. You felt like you've lost your power. You feel small because of the issue or the situation. And then last but not least, because we're on this whole like Phoenix kicks, why not burn it and release it to the universe? Not only is this very symbolic, but this is so cathartic and can really help you process the grief, turning something like this, so something as simple as writing a letter into a ritual creates this whole psychological closure that you could be missing that takes you from, your unwillingness to forgive someone because of the pain to that beautiful rise where you're in a place of self, not only self-acceptance, but love and peace. This is what helps us rewire our brains, our nervous system, so that we can let go of the past and really start creating from a place and space of new, no longer um, dragged down by the burdens that we carry from the pain. Now, another way that I love to help us rebirth this phoenix, if you will, is through mirror work. And this is something, if you watch my social media recently, I did some releasing, and after I love doing mirror work and it's so profound. It's actually something that I even thought about doing for my own vision board party was putting up mirrors in the house and having people look at themselves again, taking that honest reflection of who you are today, not the person you have in your head who may be that 6-year old or who may be that 12-year old who went through something or that 20 or that 30 or that 50-year-old, but the person who stands in front of you today. Who are they? And taking an actual inventory of everything that is going on. So after grief has been processed, you can make space for this new self, this new revelation, this new you to emerge. But this requires a level of self forgiveness. And I find that mirror work is so impactful for creating space for self forgiveness. So simple is to find a mirror. It could be a hand mirror or one in, your bathroom or whatever. Look into it. Not only just look into it and looking at yourself, but looking at your eyes is so, ooh, I'm like thinking about it gives me chills. It's so profound. It's saying something like, I forgive you. I release you and I love you can be something that you will not expect your own reaction and really looking at yourself and you might experience some resistance at first because that's normal. But the more you continue, the resistance starts to fade and something beautiful and magical happens. For me, a few weeks ago, that was me crying like a baby, just releasing that pain. And there's actual proof that mirror work and these types of love and compassionate exercises, again, just help dismantle that self judgment that we have, that inner critic, that feeling of unworthiness. So, another tool that we can put in our tool belts to help rewire ourselves to experience that phoenix, that other side once we've gone through the burning. Now, of course, I got to say my affirmations because I'm an affirmations girl. That is another way to help rewire our brains. And affirmations, you can do it so many different ways. You can write it down. You can, record yourself and play it back. You can listen to somebody else, have affirmations, but some affirmations for release, releasing the pain, releasing the past and embracing your freedom. Forgiveness is the fire that strengthens me. That could be a great and profound affirmation you use to help you move through this period in your life. Maybe even like I I rise above the pain and I choose to step in to love. Very very depictive, very for me, very visual when I say that because I can visualize myself stepping closer to love as I start to rise above the pain. It could be statements that like this, again, just like the mirror work, just like writing the letter, help us to really train our subconscious mind and into letting go of the old patterns, of the old identity, of the old neural pathways that were browned in because we kept doing things the same way. This can help release us from the burdens and help us step fully into our own healing journey. Now, if you are ready for some deep affirmations and some deep transformation, I mean, trying a meditation that you're visualizing yourself, whatever that situation, as that phoenix going through it. And this is not for everybody. So this is someone like you're really ready to like jump all in, be right into the fire, visioning yourself as as a phoenix standing in that burning flame of your pain and then feeling yourself slowly getting lighter and slowly feeling yourself rise and slowly feeling yourself glowing and your strength as you start to rise up from the ashes, but sitting in the pain long enough to actually feel it because I could close my eyes and imagine myself as a phoenix and say, yeah, I'm sitting in pain, but really like embody that to where you start feeling those very uncomfortable because it will happen, some very uncomfortable body sensation, some somatic things that I, of course, would encourage you to work out and to move, and then maybe even using the Ho'oponopono mantras to help you move through maybe those somatic pains that start to come up for you. So that could be a very powerful meditation practice that you utilize to take yourself to the next level or to really tackle that deep seated pain for true transformation and healing. So I hope that these tools, these rituals, just the conversation today has sparked something that has planted a seed inside of you to where you understand that forgiveness is not about forgetting. It's not about excusing what happened by any means. It's really about releasing the weight of your own suffering and grieving what you have actually lost, understanding that you have lost something in that process, and then stepping into that next version of yourself, whatever it is that you're looking for. So whether it's part of your past or you are ready to just burn things away. I'm the Aries. I'm like, let it burn. Now it's cue in where we play the Usher music. But whatever part of your past that you are ready to burn, let's share that. Let's create a space, a safe space where maybe we put it in the comments and, an emoji symbol like, this is what I'm letting burn today. This is what I'm letting go. This is what I'm releasing. This is the fire that I choose to put myself in so that I can be that phoenix that rises up from the ashes of this pain to true transformation, to true peace, to true love, connection, joy, everything that I want out of this journey. We are all on this journey together, collectively and yet individually. Know that I am here for you, whatever it is that I can do and however I can help and support you, I am here. Until next time, beautiful souls, elevate. Remember, forgiveness is not only about you, but it's about that grief to transform your lives and enjoy this part of your journey with me. Bye.